As the great independent director Mr. Werner Herzog once said, I despise formal restaurants. I find all of that formality to be very base and vile. I would much rather eat potato chips on the sidewalk.
Hello and welcome to Potato Chips on the Sidewalk. I am your host, Salt and Vinegar Jacob. And wait,
Your chicken twisties, Jacob.
I don't know anymore. And joining me today is
Barbecue Benjamin.
So we haven't been talking about movies a whole lot lately.
Well, beginning of the year, it
Yeah.
kind of dries up a little bit.
Yeah, and plus when HBO has been putting all of its heavy hitters out at one time, that does sort of
I can't wait for The Idol.
Oh god, yeah. Did you see the trailer for that?
Okay, look. I don't watch trailers in general,
Fair enough.
but it was all over Twitter, so I think I
You've seen the
watched
gist
it
of it.
all. And that's enough of that. Anyway, Evil Dead.
Yes.
What a thing to be around for over 40 years at this point. What do you think of all the previous 4 Evil Dead films?
Well, I think the first 2 are some of the greatest horror films ever made. I think they are so funny, unhinged, genuinely scary. I feel like people can often underestimate how actually effective as horror films they are. I feel like people are like, haha, yeah, Ash is Ash. But
Ash is a silly, fun, crazy.
these are genuinely well made and effective, and I think especially the first one is a genuinely haunting horror film. I really like Army of Darkness, perhaps a lot less so than the first 2. I know that might be a hot take. I like it. I like the whole Jason the Argonauts thing it's doing, but it just doesn't speak to me as much as the other 2. And Fede Alvarez's 2013 remake/sequel is really, really quite a great one, in my opinion. I was very surprised, and I hold that one in very high regard. What about yourself, Ben?
Well, the first one I ever saw was Army of Darkness, so watching that when you're 12 years old,
Yeah.
not knowing about the first 2, it's always held a little bit of a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I think you show that movie to I don't know, 12-year-olds nowadays, but 12-year-olds of 12-year-olds of our age. It's just a stupid thing but people our age, if you'd watched it young, I don't know, it's just a fun, silly, crazy thing to watch and just be like, oh my god, I didn't know they even made movies like this at all. And then I didn't watch The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 until much later.
Yeah.
And Evil Dead 2 in particular is, I think, just one of the best movies, let alone, just not even horror movies, one of the best movies ever made. It's just, in every aspect, I could watch that over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forever. Evil Dead 1, I think, is a great horror film. Especially the last 10-15 minutes is kind of, in 1981, it had to be just almost experimental. Just how kooky it gets at the end. I just really love it. Army of Darkness, obviously, a lot. I only watched Evil Dead 2013 the day before we saw Evil Dead Rise, and I think it's a good film. I just was not really a fan of how disgusting it is.
Well, it certainly
it's
is a
just
disgusting one.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, to me, it is less fun than the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness
Yeah.
in a detrimental way.
Yeah, I get
Like,
you.
in terms of like, direction and, set design and cinematography and, like everything that goes into it, I think Fede Alvarez set out to make one of the grossest fucking outright just filthy movies ever made. And he succeeded in 100% what he was going for. I just didn't really. I think it's good, but like I don't know. This is just images from that film in my mind. I'm like that I just don't vibe. It just wasn't the Evil Dead vibe I wanted from it. Like it's different, and it's kind of just freeing in a way that I like. I think the cruelty is good, but I just don't feel like I ever want to. Well, I might watch it again at some point if I'm in the mood, but like, I don't know. I'm not going to revisit it as often as I will the first three.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think may as well talk about the new one, Evil Dead Rise, that we got a preview screening for, thankfully. Yeah, I think just off the bat, I think it's as far as like a film that, is a continuation of Evil Dead without Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell at the helm. It's as decent as I could ask for, but it does definitely fail in comparison. Like, and the fact is, it is like this, like the other Evil Dead sequels, that they also are following a lot of the same beats of the originals, so they kind of can't separate them in that fact. But overall, I think it's a really well acted and yeah, nice, fun, tight film. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I see. I really liked it. Again, like when it boils down to it, there's a evil book and people get possessed. Like, what made Evil Dead so great was Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. Like, like just having fun with a simple premise like that.
Yeah.
And when you remove those two from the equation, what you're left with is a pretty straightforward horror premise. And when you're not Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell working together, it's really hard to make it truly special. But
Like, Cronin
overall,
did a good job. Sorry, go on.
No, I know. It was but overall, I think like, it might not be as like directorially vision chasing as Fede Alvarez's is, but like I think I enjoy it more as a movie that I enjoyed watching. Unlike Evil Dead 2013, like it is like, other than Army of Darkness, like the first real departure from Evil Dead as like a premise. But then again, it just kind of does the same thing in a different setting.
Yeah, 100.
Again,
Yeah, exactly.
again, and again. But like, I think it maintained a little bit of the cruelty that was in 2013, but kind of like refined it for my palate.
Yeah, I think my issue is like, as someone who, as macabre as this is, was a big fan of how cruel and mean all the Evil Dead films are, but like, this one felt like it was holding back a little, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there was sort of a, it didn't need. I wasn't asking for it to be as good as the Raimi ones. It doesn't need to be that. Like, that's just an unfair expectation. But I was sort of expecting a bit more of that sort of, not so much cruelty, because I guess it is cruel, but like, in the other Evil Dead films, there's a lot more haunting and there's a lot more like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
The like
Yeah.
the Deadites is a lot more like try and fuck with people more and like fuck with the protagonists more. And they definitely try with this one, but yeah, it kind of is the going through the motions. And the premise of the film, sorry if we haven't gone into it yet, is that it is set in a high-rise building, and a young woman who's found out she's pregnant visits her older sister, who herself has 3 kids. Her older sister gets possessed after her son accidentally steals the Book of the Dead that appears in all the Evil Dead films. And yeah, shit goes down. But I think they could have gone further with the whole, parenthood thing. It just kind of seemed a bit of like an afterthought. Like, it's a good idea, and then they just didn't really do anything with it until like sort of the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I say that I didn't love the cruelty
Yeah.
in 2013, but what I'm about to say that I think would drastically have improved this film is going to be one of the most cruel things I've ever said.
Yeah.
There seems to be a pulling of the punch with every single horror film from Hollywood that features an eight-year-old girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That every single... No, but like...
I know,
like,
yeah.
What I'm about to say is horrible, but I feel no tension in any Hollywood horror film featuring an 8-year-old girl, because I know that 8-year-old girl isn't going to get brutally murdered.
Yeah, I understand.
I think this film would have been improved if I actually felt like the 8-year-old... I don't say we have to brutally murder this 8-year-old girl, but if you're going to make me think that you're going to brutally murder this 8-year-old girl, I think the film would be better. Again, don't have to brutally murder that 8-year-old girl, but at least make me think, are they going to murder this brutally murder this 8-year-old girl? And at no point did I ever think that they were going to.
Yeah, no, I get you. No, I do think that is sort of the thing. It's like, it does sort of pull its punches a bit with like, look, you kind of can guess like once it gets going which characters are gonna make it out. Like, there always will be at least one character of these who makes it out.
There's the Jane Levy.
Yeah.
There's the Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
There's the, I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is, but you look a lot like Jesse Buckley.
Well, yeah, I would say spoilers, but But can I actually just say the overall?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Go on.
No. The cast in this, which I think was largely Australian, and I'm not just saying this because of national pride, but the whole cast was really good, especially Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie, the sort of like the mum / the first like possessed Deadite. Like, it's a really great haunting performance. Like, I'm not actually aware of Alyssa Sutherland besides this. I haven't watched Vikings. Apparently she was big on Vikings, and apparently she had a small role in The Devil's Wears Prada. But
Okay.
And sorry, I'm looking at Wikipedia. She was on the finale of Australia's Next Top Model 2015.
Well, like as a judge or something?
Probably. It's just credited as herself. But
Okay.
look, like, a lot has been said about the Australian film industry, and how many actors come from Australia only to be booted straight into American productions, like not even have like an Australian film or show.
I don't think they're getting booted to American productions. They're running away from the Australian screen industry.
That's what I mean, though. But it's like,
yeah.
it's like, this is the sort of like actors that we haven't been giving great opportunities to with our own productions. Like, what are we doing? Like, as Ben said, the Lily Sutherland, who plays the younger sister, um, who also looks like Jessie Buckley, she's also really good. Like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I think the casting of this, like, to do these sort of like characters which are like, you know, whoop, the younger sister who's a bit, you know, hasn't got her shit together, and the mum who's caring, but you know, she's a cool mum, but she's also like really going through it. And you know, you have the three kids, you know, the youngest, the oldest who's a bit rebellious, and then the middle one who, you know, is a bit more politically correct. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that would have gone so much worse than it did. Like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that is due to the cast just really doing a great job overall. Like, I think if there's one takeaway from this film, it's like employ this cast in more things. I'd
Yeah.
love to see every single one of them in more things.
And I think we would go on this without saying, I actually think the best aspect of the film,
Yeah.
which is like the first 3 minutes,
Yes. Yeah.
where like
Yeah.
it had such a strong opening that I was like, okay, what is this with like the title card coming up and everything? I was like, okay, I'm fucking on board for like this Evil Dead movie. And then it just never reached that level of like evil deadness for the rest of the film.
Yeah. And look,
Yeah.
I think that was sort of like thrown in there to be that sort of like, you know, back to basics sort of thing. It's like, don't
Yeah.
worry, guys, this is an Evil Dead movie. Like,
Yeah.
but also that was also like really weirdly well performed. I don't know if the name of the lead of the
I
prologue,
don't know anyone's
but like,
names.
yeah, like she was also very good. So I know I'm just going on about the acting, but it was really well acted. I will have to say,
Yeah.
I think considering this was initially made for HBO Max, I think it does look and sound very good. Like the sound is very crunchy, and I think our cinema was
Yeah.
also putting it on full blast, which like I
Oh my God.
I personally like, because I feel like I've kind of fucked my hearing, so I kind of need
Yeah.
loud ass shit. And
I think it was the same exact screen that we saw John Wick 4 on. And after I left that, I was like, that's the loudest movie I've ever seen. But
Yeah.
it might just be the loudest cinema I've ever been in.
I think it
because,
might be. I think it.
Yeah, like it was a little bit too much. I'm sorry to say as an old man. But like, I was like, turn it down a little bit, please.
Yeah.
It's scaring me.
No, but it's like but also I think like the sort of like mood and aesthetic of the actual apartment is really well realized. Like it is
Yeah.
that sort of like degrading high rise, which is like the walls are all sort of like greenish, like earthy greenish, almost brownish, and like it's like without ever like, because we spend most of the film inside, like almost the entirety of the film is inside. It does like a very good job at having that claustrophobic, grimy, but like also like a little stylish flair. Like I don't know, I think
Yeah, there was a bit like some like real I don't know if Art Deco is the right movement or like architectural term for it, but it had like that real, I don't know, kind of like
well, it was like sort of like
with the bank stuff underneath it kind of gave me like, you know, a bit of like a Bioshock aesthetic.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I even though this isn't a knockout of the park for me, I don't really have too much wrong to say about it, like bad to say about it. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's well made. I think it's really well acted. I think it's nice, tight. You know, I'm probably gonna forget it in a week or two, and it's probably gonna be like, oh yeah, that's the Evil Dead movie that I saw. But
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be
It's-
more.
It's certainly the most forgettable one, but I also think like Evil Dead, including this one, has never like had a total misfire.
No.
Like, it's just I do think that if they are gonna make an Evil Dead 6 or like whatever like Evil Dead they're gonna make in the future, is that they do need to change something
Yeah.
structurally. I mean, I don't need them to reinvent the wheel, because like that's not what these are all about. But like, well, I guess Evil Dead 2 kind of was, but so at the end of the day, somebody's gonna get a chainsaw and stick it in someone's head.
That's a good
And
time at the movies.
it is a good time at the movies, but sometimes I want, maybe stick the chainsaw somewhere else. Like just throwing out stupid suggestions. Anyway,
Yeah, I think that's all.
I enjoyed it.
I think that's all I have to
If
say.
you
now.
if you want to watch an Evil Dead movie, it's an Evil Dead movie. You can't really. Don't want to say you can't really go wrong with it. Like like that guy who yelled at Bruce Campbell at South by Southwest, but like he went wrong with it.
He did.
But yeah. If you want to watch an Evil Dead movie, this is one. This is one of them.
Right. Well, good. Well, thank you for listening to our little Evil Dead Rise review. All right.
Okay, I will see you on the next potato chips on the sidewalk.
Yes, Ben, we will. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.